Hello, and welcome to the LNL podcast.
I found out the other day a film. What was it? A film I used to watch, or I liked watching. Ah, you know the film The Rescuers
Yeah,
with the mice in it. Do you know what year that came out?
no.
I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was 1990 something. But yeah, it was actually. Yeah, so I thought it was gonna be like 1993 or whatever. It came out in 1977.
Really?
Yeah. I was, what's 1977? Seriously. So that was around for almost like 20 years before I was born.
I can't quite remember it, but was that?
It was the one where there was the little girl who got taken by that crazy lady who lives in a swamp with them pet alligators. And then with the mice who tried to rescue her.
No. I can't seem to remember a lot of the films I watched when I was younger.
Back in the days of yonder. I'm trying to find a picture. Oh, this one. If you remember this. Hmm. Funny picture. Doesn't make any sense, but
Oh, yeah, I sort of remember it. I was when you first mentioned it, I was getting it mixed up with that mouse who was sort of like, when you like a cowboy or something.
Speedy Gonzales. That one.
Maybe, but yeah, I sort of
Oh,
recognise
when
it now.
Andre.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. No, that was your Looney Tunes, isn't it?
A cowboy mouse. Oh, Pfeiffer Goes West. Yeah, you.
Something like that, yeah.
Pfeiffer! And the big cat.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not very good at remembering.
That used to be my favourite film. I used to watch that every time I went round my nan's house. Like, every single time I went round there. I've seen it about 60 times. I've seen it for years now. I wish I could go back. I loved that. It's brilliant. I'd always sit on the floor, watch Pfeiffer Goes West, have my little table, always had chips. Oh, brilliant! It it was called An American Tale, and there were three of the films. But I always just called it Pfeiffer Goes West because that was the name of the second film.
Oh,
So
right.
in my mind, they're all called Pfeiffer Goes West. That's practically like calling like Star Wars the Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, I'm watching the Revenge of the Sith. That one with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's actually it's sort of like calling A Song of Ice and Fire a Game of Thrones because only the first one's called a Game of Thrones. I don't know why they didn't call it A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't call it A Song of Ice and Fire.
Maybe I guess the Game of Thrones appealed more to their demographic. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
you get it's more clear what it's about. I guess, sort of.
Yeah, because the title A Song of Ice and Fire only makes sense if you think into it a bit more. As in Winterfell's the story revolves around really two particular of either families or well not people but two families really, and that's the Starks and Daenerys. The Starks are ice, Daenerys is a Targaryen fire, Song of Ice and Fire, if you get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a story in the north, all ice, and then the story with winter is coming. There's this wonderful picture I saw. Hold on, I'll just try and send it to you. That practically sums up what happens. But I think you'll think it's funny, and it's not a spoiler. I could laughed at this for quite a while because it is quite good. Do you like Robert Baratheon?
Yeah, he was all right. I quite liked him.
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I found it. Oh, this sums up. This sums it up of what Robert Baratheon does. If you get that. He goes hunting, dies, and then ruins everything for everyone. He's like every single place goes to war with each other. Yeah, but in the Hedge Knights, the Tales of Duck and Egg, there is a house thing. There's like a tourney. That's it. And there's a Baratheon called Lionel Baratheon who's got like this massive sword. And when it says that whenever they call him the Laughing Knight because whenever he fights, he laughs. And every time there was a scene with him in it, in my head. Oh, hold on, I'll try and find it. Yes, I'm trying to find my head. There we go. I think I found it. But yeah, there was this song that came into my head every time the Laughing Knight was in it he wasn't in it for long, and he had hardly any like lines or anything. But he became my favorite character purely because every time I thought about him, this song popped into my head, and I could just imagine when he's fighting him doing this. Could you hear it?
I know a fat old policeman, he's always on our street. A fat and jolly red-faced man, he really is a treat. He's too fine for
Have you heard this before?
I recognise it.
You'll get it right after this bit, and you'll know why I thought of him. Remember, it's called the Laughing Night, the Laughing Storm, because he's Baratheons are of Storm's Landing, Storm's End, so or the Stormlands even. So
he is the
this.
man in
Yeah. So every time I think of that when I see Robert as well, because he looks like that sort of guy who would, or when he was younger anyway, swinging around his warhammer and whatever. So it's just a laughing storm. Just imagine that in a fight. Wouldn't that be brilliant? Just this guy swinging around like a massive thing, going oh. Do you remember that thing I showed you? It was a thing with the bear and the maiden fair. It was that song, and you looked at me really, really weirdly. Hold on, it's this. That is the song. I think I might have just showed you a couple of seconds, and you look really weird at me. But you'll probably hear that because that's from a Game of Thrones. You never hear. I think I told you this before, but you never hear the whole song. There's always in the books. There's always different groups of people singing different parts of it. It's quite funny, and like even in the Hedge Knight, it's like the only book I know the whole way through is the only song I know the whole way through is the Bear and the Maiden Fair. Yeah, I'll read it. If you can't bother to read it, you should get the audiobooks. I've got them as well for like when I'm out, if I'm on the bus or something like that. Well, I have the actual books. Yeah, but a lot of the time, if I'm out, I'll listen to them or something.
So you'll be listening to like Game of Thrones while reading the second book.
Yeah. If I'm honest with you, I've came to the thing where I've got most of the time I'm doing different stuff during the day, so I normally listen to the book. I normally listen to the book when I'm out. I'll go for a walk and listen to it or something. So I have the voices of the characters all in my head. But the guy who reads the books, annoyingly, a lot of the times he changes voices. for for well, sometimes he's changed some of the voices of the characters, but he said like in an interview he says he's in the Guinness Book of World Records. He said I do like over 600 different voices, and the funny thing is they all sound the same because and he does Tyrion with a Welsh accent, and I've seen a lot of people have said that the reason they can't watch the show is because every time they see Tyrion, they imagine him with the accent, and I do that as well. He would be so much funnier in the show if he had the accent that I imagine him having. And then there's Tywin Lannister, who there's the man cutting open the thing, and in the book he's like that with a loud voice, whatever. But in the TV show, when he's cutting over the thing, sounds like some angry. In the book, he speaks like that a lot of the time. So it's like, Tyrion, you are no son of mine. And it's quite funny. Ah, The guy who played Gregor Clegane got recast apparently. Because he was in The Hobbit.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, he left because he's playing. He plays that Orc King in The Hobbit. The guy who got his arm chopped off.
Oh yeah.
That's the guy who plays Gregor Clegane. Only plays him in the first series, and someone else plays him in the second one. He's also in Prometheus. Plays as some guy with a white face. Sort of like Voldemort.
Oh, that's probably one of the alien bad guys. Thank you for listening to the LNL podcast.